Paul, it is believed that this thorn in the flesh that he speaks of in chapter number 12 is a continuation of the damage that was done when he met God. And that when the light of heaven shined and it blinded him and left him with a continual chronic case of ophthalmia. Now, ophthalmia simply is a disease that looks really bad on the outside, that is sometimes painful. But if this is Paul's thorn that he's talking about, this would have caused his ministry to suffer because the Jewish people had such a high regard for how a person looked that Leviticus says that if you had any abnormality, crooked toes, not knees, any abnormality, bent over a little bit too far to the right, any abnormality, big nose, wide lip, any abnormality, you did not qualify to serve as a priest in the temple. But aren't you glad that Jesus these days looks beyond? I feel pretty good in here today. Our thoughts and sees our needs. And I'm so glad, because if the law was still the same, not one was in you would be qualified to be up in here this morning. But so you ought to thank God. However you look, He looks beyond all our thoughts, and He sees our needs. And so Paul's thorn in the flesh most likely was a visual situation. He couldn't see that well. In fact, in Galatians, he mentions on one occasion, please pardon the great big letters with which I am writing this letter. In many of his books, there was a writer that would be with him to help him and to assist him as he did his ministry. Now, in 2 Corinthians chapter number 11, Paul is defending his apostolic authority. He has folks that knew him when, that are saying there is no way in the world, as bad as you were, that God could save and change and use someone like you. I think I got a few witnesses somewhere in the camp that may have been told that you got some old running buddies who don't believe you've been changed, probably because they don't want anything to do with the change. But when you know that you have been changed, it doesn't matter what Ray Pookie or any Medina got to say about you. If you know that you have been changed, all that matters is that the angels in the heaven have signed with your name. But not only did he have some folk on the outside that didn't believe in him, but he had some Christians who still didn't believe in the change that had taken place in him. And I just tell you, I don't mean to bust your bubble, but everybody doesn't believe in you. Everybody's smiling at you and saying, praise the Lord, hallelujah, doesn't believe in you. That's why you got to know an inner change has taken place. The old songwriter said, for the change has come over me since Jesus came into my life. Is there anybody here that can say that you know that you have been changed? You know, the things you used to do, you don't do no more. I was preaching a revival down in Valley, Alabama one time, and during the devotional period, I heard one of the deacons, I was sitting in the back of the pastor's office, and one of the deacons, after he got through singing his hymn, a charge to keep our head, God to glorify. And on he went, and he sung a good song. And afterwards, he decided to give a testimony. He said, you know, church, I was listening to Rev last night, and he was talking about how the Lord can change you. And he said, I know something about that. He said, I don't do some of the things I used to do no more. He went on to say, I don't even cheat on my wife as much as I used to. I don't know what day his funeral took place. But real change will make you different on the inside and it'll register on the outside. So Paul, hey Jack, Paul authenticates his apostolic authority in chapter number 11, and in chapter number 12, Paul talks about the great visions that God had given him. But when it comes to verse number 7, let me hasten to the text. Paul says in verse number 7, lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations there was given to me a thorn in my flesh. I want to tell you a few things that thorns do in your life. Now, whatever your thorn may be, it may be a person, it may be a problem, it may be a chronic sickness, but there's a blessing in it. Here's first thing thorns do. Thorns prevent pride. I said, hey, now, I said, thorns prevent pride. If anybody had a reason to boast to brag, it was Paul. Multilingual, he was a bad boy. Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. He could brag. But he said, so that I would not get beside myself, God gave me a thorn in my flesh. Now I want you to notice something about this. This is a powerful verse. Don't rush through this one. Notice what it says. It was given to me. Thorns are instituted by God. Your problem that you're going through right now, God instituted. God allowed. God preordained. It's no surprise to God. It's no accident that you got trouble. It's no happenstance that you catch it. God instituted your thorn. Here's the next thing. Notice who else's name he calls in the same verse. He said, lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh. But check this part. The messenger of Satan. I said, God institutes your thorn, but he uses Satan to implement. Let me say it again. I said, God institutes the thorn. He says it's all right, but he uses the devil to implement the thorn. You know why that's powerful? Because the devil can't do any more to a child of God than God allows him to do. God instituted, Satan implemented it, and notice he uses another word in this verse. He said that it was the messenger of Satan sent to buffet me. That's buffet, not buffet. Buffet comes from a Greek word that means, literally, don't miss this, to slap on the face, or to punch with a fist. Wait a minute, hold on. Hold up. God institutes the thorn, allows Satan to implement the thorn, the problem, the issue, the people, the burden, the sickness, the rape is designed to slap me in my face every now and then. We need a good somebody said, please, every now and then. Not you, but the person on your right side and the person on their left side. Give a little beside. I said, yeah. And